Ilhan Omar is the one who introduced the bill that Somalians in Minnesota used to steal, well, now they're saying over $1 billion from American taxpayers. It was called the Meals Act. So of course she had a role in this. There is no way under any circumstances that this was concocted by these foreheads. No way. And then this guy.
Tonight, another man charged in the Feeding Our Future meal fraud case. A man federal prosecutors say played a big role in funneling millions of dollars.
I mean, guys, seriously, look, just let's take a look at this, huh? Does this look like a mastermind of a $1 billion scheme? And I know you're like, oh, Leonarda, that's just like one Somalian. They don't all look like that. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They all have that light bulb head. I don't know why they have so much space in their cranium, because they clearly don't have a brain and know how to use it. Because if you did, you'd be like grateful that this country took you in. And you're like, how do I become a good citizen so I don't have to go back to that shit?
What's up, YouTube? It's your Huckleberry here, back with another video. So, I don't know, I'm assuming that most of you guys probably hadn't seen too many of my videos. I know that I'm got a few subscribers now, so that's always a little bit uplifting for me. I do this more for fun and as a hobby than I am trying to be lucrative with it or anything, but it is always encouraging to see like people like or subscribe. It makes me feel good, so think about that when you're watching this video. But over the last couple of weeks, we've reacted and discovered a person named Leonarda Jonie, who's a comedian, super funny, and she's got really interesting perspective, and she does not care. She will just tell you like what she thinks and lay out the reasoning very cohesively, and makes a lot of sense the way she words it as well. I know there's a lot of people, including maybe myself, that have a hard time disseminating facts or explaining things where it's completely understandable. But she's going to be talking something about that we have all heard about, and that's the situation going on in Somalia. I'm sorry, I meant to say Minnesota. Kind of the same thing at this point. But yeah, she's going to be talking about the money there that Nick Shirley uncovered, and Ilhan Omar, one of the most despicable people in America. So I don't really know the gist of what she's getting at, except for just what the title says: Ilhan Omar, Somalis steal $8 billion. So I'm sure this is going to be pretty funny, because she is extremely funny. So without further ado, let's see what Leonarda has to say. And real fast, before we start the video, guys, I don't know if you might pay attention to the poster I have up in the back. Is Aaliyah, the iconic R&B pop singer that died in a plane crash back in 2002. I have a video that probably just dropped a few days before this video that dives into conspiracy theories about her. And as far as the movie poster scenery that you get behind me in most of the videos, I worked at a movie theater for over 20 years, managed in Montana, in Oregon, and in Georgia. And I have a slew of posters that I will occasionally interchange. But right now we're leaving Aaliyah up because I haven't had that poster up in 20 years. And in honor of the video and her 25th anniversary of her death coming up. Check that video out if you would. Maybe I'll leave a link at it below. I'm sure you can find it in my library. But without further ado, let's get back to Leonarda and let's watch what she's got going on.
Welcome to the show, everybody. We've got a spicy one today. Apparently, all those Somalian immigrants that were dropped off in Minnesota were not here making our country better. Imagine the shock. No, instead, they were here doing what Somalians do best: ripping your country off. Oh, you thought Somalians had to be on a boat in order to be pirates? That's where you're wrong. See, being a pirate is something that Somalians have been doing for generations and generations. At this point, it's so deep in their blood that they could pirate and steal and thieve right in the middle of the coldest climate in America with the nicest people who are totally unsuspecting that a bunch of people who look like this hate you and just want your money. Let's start with the scandal, where it has recently been revealed that the amount of thieving that the Somalian community in Minnesota may have done.
Okay, so sorry about the sound, guys. That's not on me. This is one of her older first videos, I believe. She hasn't had a YouTube presence for incredibly too long, so she probably just has like her mic not set up in the right spot or something like that. I had the same issue.
Could actually be about $8 billion of fraud. The Somalians, with the help of a nice white woman and probably some representatives in the Minnesota government, started a charity called Feeding Our Future, which started in 2019 and started collecting funds just a few months after Tim Walz was elected governor. Tim Walz. I thought he was too to run a scam, but it seems that that's all stupid people do, is steal and thieve because they can't make any money themselves.
There, that's better.
Also, we're going to do things like this. Oh yeah, I'm going to be a serial rapist who gets let out of jail after no prison time for raping a 15-year-old girl at gunpoint, then abducts another woman and kidnaps and assaults her over several days in a hotel room. And where does this happen? Oh yeah, Minnesota. Minnesota. Look at that name. Doesn't that sound so American? And he was because he had a plea deal after raping a 15-year-old. Okay, please somebody tell me who in their right mind is letting this beast out on the streets. This can only be
Democrats.
The work of demons who hate you and want to terrorize you and your children.
By the day, Kelly Loeffler, who leads the Small Business Administration, says in the 2 days her agency has been investigating the state, they've uncovered at least $1 million in PPP fraud just 2 days in. Several of the whistleblowers in Minnesota have also told lawmakers they believe the total amount.
So the date on this says December 5th, which I believe is a couple weeks before Nick Shirley's expose or documentary or whatever it was that he put out on Twitter. X.
The fraud could total up to more than $8 billion. Governor Tim Walz, who is up for re-election, is under fire for all of this happening under his watch. But he says they have paused these programs. They've brought in outside auditors to get an idea of how far-reaching this fraud was. They're taking steps to keep it from happening again. And he's defending his management of the state while also taking shots at Republicans and the president.
Number one, you don't have a bunch of 65 IQ Somalian pirates coming up with this multi-billion-dollar scheme without any help with some higher IQ and people higher ups. Okay, so let's just cut the bullshit over here. Second of all, even if you didn't know, even if this absolute down of a person didn't know, that's enough evidence that you have no business being the governor. This happened under your watch. What CEO would be able to keep his job if he lost his company $8 billion through fraud? It wouldn't matter.
Again,
it wouldn't matter
she's
what
right.
he said. No, oh, I didn't know. Okay, that ignorance is not a defense. And this guy should go. I don't understand. The only way he could really be being reelected is straight up rampant fraud, which is something we know they do, because even though they're saying there's no way, you know, they also told us about Obamacare, right? That illegals can't get Obamacare. And then when they
And she's right about the only way he would get reelected is because of fraud. And you remember she showed a clip of him earlier, the Somalian dude that was standing next to Ilhan Omar that was almost elected to be mayor or whatnot until they discovered all that voter fraud. What she's saying and how she says it might be funny, but she's right on with the facts.
Looked at it, they found that 1 in 3 subsidy recipients, that's $21 billion total, used Social Security numbers that didn't match IRS records. What does that mean? They were fake applicants, and yet they got approved. But they want you to know that, oh no, that doesn't happen. So imagine these people are voting. So this is when the scandal kind of came out a little while ago. I'm going to go ahead and play this. It was estimated at $250 million, but now they're saying it's probably upwards of $1 billion, maybe even $8 billion.
A $250 million fraud scheme. Already 77 people, many of them Somali immigrants, have been charged in one of the largest taxpayer-funded scams in U.S. history. Minnesota, home to the largest Somali community in America, has become the center of this massive investigation. This is the Feeding Our Future scandal, a pandemic-era scheme in which defendants allegedly stole over $250 million meant to provide meals for low-income children. Instead of feeding kids, prosecutors say the money went toward
that white woman was the Amy Bach. Okay, she's part of this, but I still don't think she's the mastermind, actually. I think she was an integral piece to this, but not the mastermind.
Prosecutors say the money went toward luxury homes, high-end cars, jewelry, overseas transfers, and an entire network of shell companies. According to the DOJ, the conspirators...
Shell companies. Does that sound like something a Somali would be able to figure out how to do? Let's think about this, guys. Seriously, they're their IQ is so low they can't consider a hypothetical scenario like, how would you feel if you didn't eat breakfast today? And you're going to tell me that they can figure out how to do a multi-million, upwards of billion-dollar scheme creating shell companies to hide the money? No. Now, I can believe that they spent it on a bunch of luxury vacations and cars and homes because they are still, after all, black.
Submitted fake invoices, fabricated meal counts, and even staged photos to make it look like they were serving millions of meals that never existed. In some cases,
that's why you had the white lady in there. The white lady's in there setting it up, saying, gotta do a photo shoot, guys. We gotta make this look real. Remember, starving kids. Get the Somalians in here. There's no way. There's no way that they would have been able to figure this out on their own. Somebody is behind this.
They claimed to feed more children than lived in entire neighborhoods. A federal jury found Amy Bach, the founder of Feeding Our Future, and Salim Ahmed Saeed guilty of conspiracy, bribery, wire fraud, money laundering. Federal officials say more arrests may still be coming.
And then this guy.
Tonight, another man charged in the Feeding Our Future meal fraud case. A man federal prosecutors say played a big role in funneling millions of dollars.
I mean, guys, seriously, let's take a look at this, huh? Does this look like a mastermind of a billion-dollar scheme? And I know you're like, oh, Leonarda, that's just like one Somalian. They don't all look like that. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They all have that light bulb head. I don't know why they have so much space in their cranium, because they clearly don't have a brain and know how to use it. Because if you did, you'd be like grateful that this country took you in. And you're like, how do I become a good citizen so I don't have to go back to that shithole that I left? But no, you're Somalian. So
she's right, though, y'all.
Literally do everything that made Somalia a shithole wherever you go. And this is what I believe is the great awakening that's happening.
They don't know how to assimilate. They're pirates. They're land pirates. They came from a third world dystopian country, and they came over here and they figured out a way with corrupt politicians how to make money, and the politicians use them because they're stupid, and they're okay with it because they're making money. I mean, is she wrong? If she's wrong, tell me she's wrong. And if she's right, tell me down in the comments section if you agree.
Happening with normal average Americans are starting to understand and wake up and go, oh, I got it. It's not like there's something magically happening in that country that's making it a shithole. It's you people. And if we take you shitty people out of this one shitty country and we put you in another place, you're going to make that new place the same way as the shitty place we moved you from. If you take lions and you take them out of the African safari and you put them in the plains of America, guess what they're going to do? They're going to still do lion shit. This is a metaphor. Are you tired of going to a bookshop, seeing a bunch of gay shit written by women, for women and gay dudes, and you're like, God, why is everyone gay? Can't I just read some masculine shit? AntelopeHillPublishing.com has what you need. Promo code Leo for 10% off. A couple of great books that I can recommend to you right now are Rise of the Reich, which documents how the Reich was a historical accumulation of Germany's attempt to create its own identity. And maybe they took it too far. We would all say they took it too far, but it would still be helpful to understand the ideology that brought them here, if for no other reason than to prevent its rising from ever happening again. This was something good.
Then they can enact legislation that exclusively benefits Somali people and have 4 or 5 children. So the strategy is to steal money from the American taxpayer, give Somali residents free housing, free food, free school, free healthcare, give them such a comfortable lifestyle that they can afford to have 4 or 5 children, while the native-born population struggles to have 1, 2 if they're lucky. And then as their population outgrows the native population, they have more political power. And then they can enact legislation that exclusively benefits Somali people, and the money that's not exclusively for them, they can just steal it through fraud. And the more money they get, the more they send back to Somalia, because that is their goal. You heard the guy say it at the Ilhan Omar rally. But speaking of Ilhan Omar, someone who openly hates America and declares her allegiance for a foreign country, here she is going to a church and berating a bunch of white people for liking Charlie.
Okay, so this is where we get into the meat of the video, guys. And I keep moving around my picture because I'm trying not to, like, obstruct Leonarda or whatever she's trying to show us. So sorry that I'm jumping from left to right and then up to the corner there. But yeah, so Ilhan is probably one of the main problems. And I've seen him, and I forgot what his name is, but I've seen him plenty of times in his videos. He's also really good at breaking down and explaining things. But yeah, let's see where this is going with Ilhan, because this is, probably the root of the issue.
Those of you who are interested in rewriting this hateful man's history are full of shit.
Thank you.
This woman shouldn't be able to walk the streets of our country. You understand? Never mind stand in front of a pulpit and tell these people, look at these white people, how evil and horrible they are because they like a man named Charlie Kirk who loved his country and believed that demographics were destiny. Yeah, pointed to the countries with the wrong demographics and saw their destiny, and have labeled him hateful because it's a way to knock down your defenses so you cannot defend yourself against her and her brother and her other Somalians that she's probably all related to. How this has not been out, I don't understand.
I don't understand either.
It's gotten so bad. Trump's, seems to be back in his element about this. I'm not sure what's going on because he's let us down quite a bit with some of his other stuff. But with the Somalian stuff, he's really been calling it out. I mean, he called Tim Walz a retard. He got all butthurt about it. It's like, well, then don't be a retard, Tim. It's pretty simple. And he goes off about the Somalians, and of course, everybody wants to clutch. You know what's so interesting, though, is like people really aren't even clutching their pearls as much as they used to, where we'd be so abhorred at saying anything that sounds even remotely racist. Like, remember when he called like Haiti and some other places shithole countries back in like 2016, and then that was all over the place, and everybody was like, oh my God, it's so horrible. This didn't even really make the news. I mean, they tried to make it a thing that Somalians were garbage people, and everybody was like, yeah, you are. Look at Somalia. Look at what you've done in Minnesota. Look at all the money you've been stealing. Yeah, I think calling you garbage people is less offensive than you literally robbing this country and turning it into a shithole.
Somalians ripped off that state for billions of dollars, billions, every year, billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. Yep. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you. Somebody said, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries, too.
See that? Trump is slowly approaching the people are the ones who determine the state of the country. It's not some magical thing that befalls them. And you know this because wherever they go, they recreate the same shitty state of the country they were in, except it's worse because they're even stealing our money and still not creating anything.
The country's still, we don't want them there. We have to rebuild our country. You know, our country's at a tipping point.
The only thing that they're building is a bunch of mosques, more places for them to like get into their own echo chamber without assimilating into American culture.
So bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise, and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell, and they complain, and do nothing but...
And he's right. And go back, I did a video on Ilhan Omar and her actual history that I just put out like a week or so ago. Probably 2 weeks maybe by the time you get this video. But it explains, like, she came from the same, her father worked in the same government that they had that like did genocide to all these people out there. Like, she is from a very corrupt and ruthless regime she was born out of. And she, like, when she interrupted Trump's State of the Union address a few weeks ago, you could see the disdain for America that she has. She is not good. She's like a virus or like a sickness that's like slowly spreading, and it's getting into like all the Karens and, all the radical lefties and all them, they just, because they all have one thing in common, TDS. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, Trump can say the same shit that Hillary Clinton said 20 years ago, pull it up on the feeds about closing the borders down and, giving Americans back their jobs. She said this, he says this, because he says this and they don't like him, it's bad. So, like, they all agree on that. And so because of that, they start feeding into whatever the fuck she's saying.
We don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it. Thank you very much.
Even in the heart of the liberals in Minnesota, I can guarantee you that they're listening to that going, please somebody do something. Just don't make me say it publicly because I don't want to be accused of being racist and get attacked. Right. Because that's what being accused of being racist is. It's a signal to all the other non-whites that you are a fair target to be killed and crushed and nobody should feel any remorse. You think I'm lying? Take a look at this recent situation that happened. In Portland, a certain Gary Edwards, 43, was charged with second-degree assault for stabbing a man in Portland near a light rail, public transportation. This is why we can't have nice things.
That's where I live.
On July 8th. He was found not guilty on October 31st after the jury learned the victim was using racial slurs in the aftermath of the altercation. You guys get this? The black guy stabs the white guy before the white guy says the magical word that makes you an evil Nazi and it's okay to kill you because you're not human anymore. So he hasn't said the word yet. He stabs him. Then, in a gut reaction, because he literally just got stabbed, the white guy calls him the magical no-no word. And then the Portland jury, which is probably a bunch of who look like this, are like, oh, well, in that case, you should have just killed him. You're free to go. Which makes me hope only that this man will find every single one of these jurors and personally thank them with, you know, the way he acts. If you want to know why they call you racist, it's because it's a way to signal to everybody else you're fair game and nobody should feel bad about attacking you and targeting you.
The mayor of Minneapolis,
she's right,
is saying that he's actually proud to have the largest Somali community in the country, and his police chief.
Well, then he's a fool.
Well, his police chief is also saying.
You guys want to know who Jacob Frey is? No problem. I'm so happy. I'd be really happy to show you guys who Jacob Frey is. You guys remember this? Remember this guy who was crying at the coffin of George Floyd that performed? Because it's a way to signal to everybody else you're fair game and nobody should feel bad about attacking you and targeting you.
The mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, is saying that he's actually proud to have the largest Somali community in the country, and his police chief.
Well, then he's a fool.
Well, his police chief is also saying.
You guys want to know who Jacob Frey is? No problem. I'm so happy. I'd be really happy to show you guys who Jacob Frey is. You guys remember this? Remember this guy who was crying at the coffin of George Floyd that performed and everything? That's Jacob Frey. And just a little bit to know about Frey. Apparently, he's from Arlington County, Virginia. I wonder if that has something to do with him being so pro-Somali, such that he actually even spoke Somali in front of them like a moron. There's actually, let's see this video.
That's not what we are about.
You're not American. You're not American.
We're going to do right by every single person in our cities. And so, to our Somali community.
Are you going to do right by the girl who got after you let a Somalian go from jail because it would have been racist or I don't know, whatever reason? You can't do right by every single citizen. Because if you do right by
saying that he's actually proud to have the largest Somali community in the country, and his police.
To know about Frey, apparently he's from Arlington County, Virginia. I wonder if that has something to do with him being so pro-Somali, such that he actually even spoke Somali in front of them like a moron. There's actually, let's see this video.
That's not what we are about.
You're not American. You're not American.
We're going to do right by every single person in our cities. And so, to our Somali community.
Are you going to do right by the girl who got after you let a Somalian go from jail because it would have been racist or I don't know, whatever reason? You can't do right by every single citizen. Because if you do right by criminals, you essentially, by definition, do wrong to their victims.
Daman Shabka, Somaliad, Kunul, Minnesota, Garahan, Minneapolis, Waan, Kuji, Janilahai, Waan, Ku, Gereb, Taganhan.
You saw that guy's face there? He's like, what the hell? You know, the funniest thing about this whole thing is that Somalians don't even have the IQ to appreciate your attempt to pander to them. They're just looking at you. Once again, they're like hyenas who are looking at a lion who's come to supplicate the hyenas like, you're pathetic. Like, we're supposed to be afraid of you. And you're here asking us in hyena to vote for you? We're gonna destroy you. We're gonna tear you limb from limb. And when you say, wait a second, I was speaking hyena to you, we're gonna say, well, we're hyenas. We do what hyenas do. It doesn't matter if you try to speak hyena to us. We know you're not one of us.
Look at their nation. Look how bad their nation is. It's not even a nation. It's just people walking around killing each other. Look.
I mean, let's just listen to that. That's 100% right.
Look at their nation. Look how bad their nation is. It's not even a nation. It's just people walking around killing each other.
He's 100% right. One of the things Somalians are doing since they've been called the garbage people is showing videos of how great their country is. And everybody's like, okay, if it's so great, like, why don't you live there, right? So, like, this was one of the videos they showed, right? It's the Somalian beach. Waters look beautiful. You know what the problem with this is? That, right there. The surround tons of Somalians. And you know what else happened is, when they had some royalty that was coming onto the beach, and the guards just went out and started shooting indiscriminately at the beach, ended up killing one of the young boys. So yeah, he's right, because they have no theory of mind, they have no foresight, they have no ability to plan. That's not a nation. You don't have a country. That's why you have to come here and get elected in elections that you fake over here, because you don't even have elections to fake over there. I'm with Trump on this. Now, here's where I'm starting to say this is bigger than some Retarded white liberal chick who finds herself engaged in a multi-billion-dollar scam. Ilhan Omar is the one who introduced the bill that Somalians in Minnesota used to steal, well, now they're saying over $1 billion from American taxpayers. It was called the Meals Act. So of course she had a role in this. There is no way under any circumstances that this was concocted by these foreheads. No way. And I'm pretty sure she was helped along the way, because here was a whistleblower in the Minnesota Department of Human Services employees that broke the news that Tim Walz himself is directly responsible for the hundreds of millions of dollars in Somalian immigrant fraud, and that account since then has been suspended, which this has got to be something that's going on behind the scenes, because I can't imagine that this would be something that Elon Musk would want covered up. So let's read what they said before they got banned. Tim Walz is 100% responsible for massive fraud in Minnesota. We let Tim know of fraud early on, hoping for a partnership in stopping fraud. But no, we got the opposite response. Oh, that's usually what happens when someone's guilty. Tim Walz systematically retaliated against whistleblowers using monitoring, threats, repression, and did his best to discredit fraud reports. Instead of partnership, we got the full weight of retaliation by Tim Walz, certain DFL members, I don't know what that is, if you guys know what that is, and an indifferent mainstream media. It's scary, isolating, and left us wondering who we can turn to. See, that's the irony, right? Nobody cared about the story until Trump called the Somalians garbage people. Then, of course, the left-wing media goes into a spiral, and everybody's like, oh, I'm so glad you brought this up. Here's $8 billion of missing money that they stole because they're pirates.
Look at me, sure. Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
How does $8 billion just go missing, right? You're supposed to have people who are doing some oversight, seeing what's going on. Well, if you appoint the people and you tell them, yeah, this is supposed to be happening, just ignore it or make it look good. That's how you can continue a fraud since 2019. So now 6 years of just scamming and getting tons of money, because every time you ask for money, which is what they were doing, asking for grants and federal funding, it has to get approved, which means you have to show documentation that it's legitimate. Well, that documentation is going to show fraud, but if your oversight committee is your own people, then yeah, you're going to miss it.
We made this one up. It's a made-up tale. It's a total fabrication.
Programs, especially in behavioral health and disability services, were built without any guardrails against fraud. Oh yeah, that was one of the other ones, right? Somalians all claim that their kids are autistic, and no one can ever call them out on it because they're Somalian. Yes, I did say that, and I don't care. Leadership did not want to appear to discriminate against certain communities and were unwilling to take action such as stopping fraud. That would have had an adverse impact on their image. See, so even if they're not in on it, they don't want to admit it, because now everybody goes, hey, look how shitty the Democrats are. Look how shitty Tim Walz is. Look how shitty this whole leadership is. Maybe, just maybe, we should vote for Republicans, because they care about the citizens, supposedly. Even they, just don't get in the way of that one particular country. It's structure created and maintained by Tim Walz, who has created an environment of interrelated agencies and institutions, including the media, that help foster fraud through retaliation and turning a blind eye in exchange for political gain in the form of higher power agency leadership jobs. So they're doing basic nepotism in a different way, though, where you're DEI shit, you're unqualified, but hey, if you go with the scam, which is probably what all these DEIs are supposed to be, which is probably why Ilhan Omar is here. She's going with a higher level scam. You think that her retarded brain could come up with this stuff? No. She's an actor, dude. She's part of this. Was she happy to see the American empire crumble? Of course, because she's full of envy, resentment, and hatred in her heart. Anyone with eyes to see can see these demons for what they are. So that account got suspended after that. And, wait, what is Tim Walz? What is he concerned about? He's not concerned about the billions of dollars missing. He's concerned about...
I've never seen this before. People driving by my house and using the R word in front of people.
Yeah, you deserve way worse than that. There's more, right? The Minnesota Attorney General, Keith Ellison, was caught on tape pledging to help Somali fraudsters in exchange for campaign donations. What do you know? A nice old little kickback program. Everybody's getting in on it. How do I start my own scam? That's what I want to know. Help me start the Feed the Poor Albanian Children scam, and I'm just going to take millions of dollars, and then I'm going to go live little kickback program. Everybody's getting in on it. How do I start my own scam? That's what I want to know. Help me start the Feed the Poor Albanian Children scam, and I'm just going to take millions of dollars, and then I'm going to go live like a fat king. I'm going to go live like this guy. I'm going to go live like this dude, this African president. He became the president of the Central African Republic, I guess the emperor. You can't be an emperor if you're in Africa. Sorry to tell you that, buddy. He had them make him a 2-ton gilded throne and pearl-laden toga. And apparently he cooked and served the French dignitary human flesh. What do you know? I mean, man-made horrors beyond our comprehension, although you might, contest whether this is a man. This is why you can't put black people in charge of anything, okay? Because they will never be able to outgrow their desire for bling. So, of course, this fetal alcohol syndrome looking thing wants to come out and be in support of the immigrants from Somalia. Now, you might ask yourself, why would a Pramila Jayapal, who's clearly not Somalian Indian, support a totally different population when you know Indians are super racist against black people? They're racist against their own Indians who are just tanner than them, never mind a straight up Somalian. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if there's anybody else who's doing fraud in this country, once we start to unravel it with the Somalians, you're next, Priya.
The majority of Americans across the country, regardless of political party, know that immigrants from all over the world, Somalia, India, wherever they're from, Latin America.
See, Somalia, India, better throw another one in there. Latin America.
Wait, this, I'm not sure, but this might be the woman that was sitting next to Ilhan Omar that was also heckling Trump during the State of the Union. I think this is the same woman. I'm not positive, but I think it is.
Africa, that immigrants have built this country and make this country what it is today.
Nice, nice. So first of all, don't you like that a person who looks like this literally looks like a cartoon character who just got hit in the head with...
Okay, so I paused it because I wanted to say that I was doing some research. The first Somalians was like, there was like 5 or 10 of them. They came over in the 20s. 150 years after this country was already being built. And we didn't get a huge contingency of Somalis to come over until the 90s. At that point, we're 200 something years in, and they haven't done anything hardly but claim welfare. Like 80-something% that have been here over 10 years are on welfare still. And like I mentioned earlier, the only thing that they've contributed to building is a shitload of moss. So I don't know where she's. I mean, she's speaking. This woman's speaking in a broader sense about immigrants building America. But yeah, like everybody, that's, you know, Italians and Irish and all of them that chose to assimilate back before the turn of the century helped build this country. But not the ones that are coming over and tribing up and, you know, stealing money and building mosques so they can huddle up together and figure out more ways to steal money.
The frying pan is telling you what you as Americans believe. What your ancestors built was built by her people who can't stop getting hit by trains. Don't you love that? Aren't you sick and tired of this already? How much more are you going to take? That's the question. Because this isn't going away. This isn't going to stop. You're not going to talk to these people. You're not going to reason with them. You know, you may be able to wrestle political power if you can stop the rampant fraud, but it's so ridiculous. I mean, even Trump, who's recognizing it, I don't know that he's even able to do much in this scenario. So short of a full-scale overthrow, it's disgusting. They come in here, they change the Minnesota flag so that it straight up looks like the Somali flag. They tried to tell you, oh, look, Minnesota Democrats condemn unhinged state flags.
Wait, did they do
changed
that?
The Minnesota flag. Let's see what the old Minnesota flag looked like. There it was, right? That looks like something a white person would make. Let's see what the new Minnesota flag looks like. That looks like something a 65 IQ would make. Color. And
wait, is that real?
Too many color.
Is that real? I can't believe that's real. Hold on. We're about to look this up ourselves. Flag of Minnesota right here. New Minnesota state flag. Is this real? No way, guys. No effing way. This cannot be legit. I'm not believing, bro. What is this garbage? I can't believe this, dude. I think this is a thing. Hold on, I'm going to ask, what is this, Copilot? Let me ask. Minnesota officially adopted a brand new state flag on May 11th, 2024. It replaces the old design that featured the state seal, and the imagery many Minnesotans found outdated or offensive. What the new Minnesota, it's light blue field, dark blue angular shape, white 8-pointed star. Oh my God, dude. That's legit. What she's saying is real, bro. That is it. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
It's confusing. Now let's go see the Somalian flag. You're in a full-scale invasion by 65 IQ people who hate you. And then while she's telling you that your country ain't shit, she's over here telling, here we go, let's just watch this.
Somalia was Somali. Somalia was how?
Somalia is for Somalians only, but America is for everyone. And you can just hear, you know she's talking to, because even though she's like super important to them, you hear them all chit-chatting, right? This is what happens with low IQ people. They don't pay attention when there's a speaker. They think that their stupid conversation about like, which child they want to abduct is more important than whatever she's saying right now. How do we arm Ethiopia and Kenya? Like, I didn't think I was going to become pro-Ethiopia and Kenya, but I think I might be right now. What a piece of shit this one is. Here's the good news, guys. Apparently, Somalia is a beautiful country with lovely beaches, and the president of Somalia says it's perfectly safe. So you guys can all go home now. Nobody's bought. You guys can go home, go to Somalia, and have your ethnic wars and destroy each other and get out of America.
All right, guys. So I think you can see why Leonarda is so extremely controversial. But is she lying? I heard a lot of jokes, but I also heard a lot of facts. Spitting the truth. Her methodology of doing it through humor might make a little bit of the situation like light, but there's a point she's driving home, and she's exactly correct. But yeah, that was the video, guys. I don't know what else to say other than like we got a real problem, and it's gonna eventually bleed out of Minnesota. And it's going to be a lot bigger, especially when they're breeding like 10 times at a higher rate than we are. Like in 30 years, we're in some real shit. Anyway, guys, I'm your Huckleberry. You could call me Huck. Hopefully, we'll see you again next time. You're Daisy if you do. Peace!